Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 6 Degrees of Associations. I'm your host, Lucas McCann. If you're listening today, this is a special episode that's been in the works for some time. Welcome to the show, John Bode, President and CEO of Corn Refiners Association. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Lucas. Great to be with you.
My pleasure. Well, John, as I do, I want to turn the microphone over to you. I'd like you to tell our audience, a little bit more about yourself, your current role, and then take us back in time. Tell us how you found this world of associations.
Sure. So I've spent my life in food and agriculture matters and business and policy. In the 1980s, I was an assistant secretary of agriculture for President Reagan. In practicing law after that, my focus was food and drug law, largely food companies, agriculture, that sort of thing. And then 10 years ago, I was recruited to become the CEO of the Corn Refiners Association, and I have tremendously enjoyed doing that ever since. So that's me. That's my history. I like to tell my members I grew up in a grain elevator in western Oklahoma and farming, and that's my life story. Except that I married this wonderful, cute girl from college, and we sued the governor over a tuition increase, and the governor forgave us, hired us both, and that's how we got our jobs in Washington. He was elected to the Senate and invited us to come with him.
Well, I was going to ask you about your greatest career achievement. I think you just nailed it. And I'm talking about the marriage, not the suing. Well, it's been 10 years in the seat, John. Tell us a little bit about what's kept you energized, what's kept you enthused about, working in the association market specifically.
Oh, what I love about my job is it provides a chance to be impactful. And that's what gets me excited. And I'm excited about associations for the same reason. At an association level, you're able to deal with policies that are bigger, that often are too big for advocates for a company to take on. And that's pretty exciting for me as a policy guy. At Corn Refiners Association, I came aboard. We were mired in multi-billion-dollar litigation, and we were able to work our way past that and mend the industry relations fences and pivot to becoming a best-in-class issues management organization. And that's our real focus. In time, we decided to take on launching a new trade association. So CRA started a second trade association, and that's exciting too.
Yeah, I want to come back to that, the second association, because I think that's an interesting model. I often think about the impact of association. I call them small businesses with really big impact, and you think about, as a leader, you're leading a small staff in some cases, but the impact, ripples through policy, through membership, the entire economy. How do you approach? What's sort of your philosophy? Does it change at all from a leadership perspective, just knowing the mass of the impact coming, from the organization?
I think it offers wonderful opportunities. First of all, we're able to recruit personnel on the basis that you will have big impact if you do your job well. And people who are drawn to that are high achievers, and that's worked very well for building our team. And the way that I like to go at that is to be sure that we're reading up a level, we're learning more. So when we do a lot of work in trade, for example, our focus is to know trade, but also to have some sense of geopolitics and foreign policy, because that is the broader context for trade policy. And that's true really across the policy board. there's always opportunities to read up and understand the context better.
Yeah, it's really an environment where you have to stay ahead of the game to sort of stay with the game, right? It's not a role or an industry where you can stay stagnant because things are moving around you, right? Your members, their business models are changing. The environmental impacts are amplified to a degree.
Yes, Lucas, I've been so lucky through my career. I've worked with some fantastic people and businesses. I was really fortunate about 30 years ago to do a lot of work with McDonald's. And
Hmm.
in those days, one of the things they really preached and worked on, and I learned from them, was the importance of identifying and properly assessing emerging issues and to avoid that infamous deer in the headlights appearance that comes so often in policy arena. And it's one thing to identify the emerging issue, but then to properly assess and stay on top of it. So you don't invest resources inappropriately, but you also are prepared as something emerges.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. And that's something new. One, I didn't know that you had done some work with McDonald's, and I always think of McDonald's as the corporation that's known for its systemization of their workforce and of their processes. Right? You think that everything's gotten down to just a very specific process, and that's sort of what they're known for. It's interesting that you would bring in sort of the vision of that organization as well.
Yes, but I think I know McDonald's the same way, but I know it also by certain other characteristics. So the way they invest in personnel and embrace the strengths of personnel. Paul Ryan, Speaker Ryan, likes to tell the story that his first job was working for McDonald's. And he got that job, and they said, you're going to be great here, but we want you back in the kitchen. You just don't have the personality to work the counter. So the assessments aren't always right, but they are good in getting young people started, and they have a proud culture of started at McDonald's. And the number of CEOs around the country who've started at McDonald's is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that sounds like a missed opportunity in the recognition of somebody's gifts, but
I think it worked out.
It did for everybody. Well, so speaking of, you brought up the second association, right? I mean, I think of association staff, they're already wearing a lot of hats. They do a lot of things. Tell us about sort of the motivation impetus for building the second association and what was sort of the vision there.
Sure, Lucas. So at the Corn Refiners Association, we're really an industry of chemical engineering. And so the number of products that are made or feedstocks for products is staggering. And what we realized was that the real growth opportunity of the corn refining industry was in renewables, biochemicals that could be used to make plastics, all kinds of things. And when we went in to talk to the broader community, including environmental NGOs, as the corn refiners, they were like, oh, big corn. And when we talked with them about plant-based solutions, they were very receptive. And we realized that any policy that we advanced would be feedstock agnostic. So it made no sense for us to try to do it as the corn refiners, but instead to establish a new platform for advocacy in this space. So we started the Plant-Based Products Council, a separate trade association. Corn refiners provided seed money for that. And it has grown to over 40 members besides the CRA member companies, and is a very successful platform advocating for a broad range of bio-based products and having lined up for some very strong farm bill successes.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on having the vision to see the need for sort of a second brand within the industry and for standing that up. In retrospect, of course, right? It sounds brilliant and obvious almost in a way, looking back. And, you could sort of wave the magic wand and say, look, this is working great. And what were, for those listening who were thinking, wow, maybe my industry could use something like this, share a couple of the challenges that you had as that sort of started to develop and grow.
Well, there certainly were challenges. We had the challenges of standing up a new association. Uh, I have a very enlightened board, and so getting board alignment was not that difficult. Uh, but standing up the organization, there were challenges, and then of course assuring that the alignment of responsibilities would allow for efficient operations within our organization was key. So it was really a matter of avoiding taking on too much, taking on significant new roles, new functions, and being sure that the personnel who are already handling functions at CRA could could apply that skill set to PBPC, the second organization. And then, of course, doing things by the book so that we had two corporate entities. We signed a memorandum of understanding between the two, and we regularly reassess the time allocations of staff to be sure that it's current and time of staff is properly allocated to each organization.
Yeah, I think it's an exercise in a lot of communication, I would imagine, clarity around roles and expectations. Were there other things that through that process you just had to say no to? I mean, you had to take some things and put it down, or were you able to sort of find some efficiencies and commonalities and roles and maybe add a few seats to make it happen?
There were some things we said no to, or at least we said not now.
Yeah.
So part of it, it was more interesting challenge than I anticipated, was the scope of work for the Plant-Based Products Council. So to be clear that we were not doing plant-based foods, for example. There were others already in that space. And we give a real focus to do only what's important to our industry and where we have the opportunity to make unique impact. So if the work's already being done by somebody else, that's not what we're really interested in. So that's an example. I would say also we've deferred engagement on the foundation work of the Plant-Based Products Council just because of personnel resources. We're putting less into membership recruitment right now because our focus is policy wins. Let's book some policy wins, and that will facilitate the organic growth that we're already experiencing.
Yeah, that sounds like wisdom, putting some of those things down and focusing in certain areas. I jokingly say I have a lot of scars from trying to do too much and going too wide. That's something I've had to learn through my career is I could have a tendency to arrogantly say I could do that and I could do it better, even if there was competition. But I think that's wisdom to say there are other people in this space who are focusing on food, and to define yourself by something where you felt like there was a real need.
Yeah, well, we try. It's I'm a big believer that if your standards are high enough, you recognize you're always making mistakes, and it's how do we move forward, learn from those, and grow and do the best we can.
Well, I'm gonna go back and write that down because I thought that was a real piece of gold as it turns of a statement to stand on. It also takes some really, really great staff. And I know you're very proud of your staff, and I wanted to take a moment and let you brag on them. I know one of them, Jamaica Gale, received a Gold Stevie Award and Climate Hero of the Year. Tell us a little bit more about Jamaica and what makes her this award winner.
Jamaica's a star. It's such a pleasure to work with her. She is, she's received a number of awards, and that's just the most recent one. But I think she is self-assured, and that means that she tells you what she doesn't know, and she is self-assured in telling you what she does know, which builds her credibility. And she is also eager to take on what's new and do that with enthusiasm and with the credibility she builds so quickly. That's just been brilliant. So all of that is lined up with her responsibilities in sustainability and managing environmental affairs to lead us forward. And we were thrilled that the Stevie Awards recognized her as Climate Hero of the Year.
I loved what you said there, John, because if you receive an award, people think sort of knee-jerk reaction that they excelled at something project-based. They created a new form of revenue, and it was something sort of in a moment that they did that earned them this award. But in my experience, it's more about recognizing, yes, for one of those things and the skills but it's the soft skills that those people possess that make them real contributors. And ultimately, the real contributors and those soft skills to the organization just make the other stuff shine brighter.
Exactly, Lucas. And, Jamaica certainly has the project accomplishments, but I really, when I think about her, it's what got her to that leadership. And she is superb.
Yeah, sounds like it. Another highlight here, Robin Bowen, leading association lobbyist and CEO update and association trends. Sounds like you got another star.
Another star. It's such a joy to work with Robin. She came to us from the Mercatus Center. And the reason I was so eager to ask Robin to join our team, and thrilled she did, was she has a experience on Capitol Hill. She certainly understands Congress, but she understands regulatory advocacy, which is at least half of what we do. In regulatory advocacy, it has lots of nuts and bolts, and knowing how to employ those tools is very important. So it's the people, but it's also the processes. And Robin is brilliant and very fortunate to have that wonderful lady as an advocate for CRA and PPPC.
And I'll make the not so bold assumption that these are also folks who follow your culture of reading up, leveling up, sort of lifelong learners that, stay on top of, their role within the organization, but also in the industry.
They do. I've got to tell you, I so often have learned from them. Let me just note, one of the things in regulatory advocacy we think it's important is to be able to understand the executive orders and the framework for engaging in regulatory advocacy. Robin has been very strong on that, and so we are and strong on how to employ tools like retrospective regulatory impact analysis, so that we get the measurement tools in place in an accurate form, which is important in regulatory advocacy.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you sort of a difficult question, John, and not difficult like you didn't study up for it, but I find that when I interview leaders, it's almost easier sometimes to talk about our mistakes than it is to talk about our accomplishments. And you yourself have won a Stevie Award for nonprofit thought leadership, and so here's the hard question: what do you think about your career or your approach to leadership that sort of makes that stand out in our industry?
I've been so blessed. I think that the opportunities. My biggest regret is not being bolder to seize those opportunities, and So we recently uh, have been faced with, upheaval in the trade policy space. And so because we try to read bigger and understand the context, we reached out to others in the food and ag community and said, we 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 don't really have as a community a strategy for moving forward. And so we organized a meeting where the leaders of the food and ag trade community came together. We didn't do that with an objective of reaching an agreement, but instead comparing notes and listening to one another and learning one another's perspectives. And that opportunity to learn from others and challenge that we ask the bigger questions has been a wonderful opportunity, and what I really think of as a place to contribute in being a good neighbor in the policy community.
Yeah, well, one, thank you for proving my point by jumping right into the regrets as opposed to talking about the accomplishments. So that wasn't planned, but it worked out. And what I've sort of noticed as a trend here as we talk and doing my research sort of before our conversation here is you have a wonderful philosophy of being a team effort and setting a bar of excellence and building up the people around you and really listening. And I think that's an important part of not only leadership but association leadership. Some people jokingly say that it's sort of a rule by committee, but it's more of a gathering of perspectives in order sort of for the greater good of an industry and building towards a common path of alignment.
So, Lucas, I'm just a big believer in team genius. So the concept that a properly formed team will always make better decisions than even the most brilliant leader. And so forming the proper team is key. It's having diversity and perspective is fundamental because we don't want all big picture people. We want some doers. We want different perspectives on that team, and the team shouldn't be too big that it becomes unmanageable. Things like that, and then of course having a culture where that team, everybody feels valued and everybody is encouraged to make their contributions.
Yeah, very well said. And on the pulling on the thread of different perspectives, I want you to tell us a little bit about your intern program because I think it's a little bit different. I know it's an area of pride for you all, and tell us your approach to that.
I'm real excited about our intern program. First of all, let me say that we're a small organization. We're a staff of only 12 slots, and we try to cover a lot of ground. And our board is also very bought into the concept that we're going to limit the amount of our association resources that go into staff so that we have flexibility for non-staff resources to be nimble. And so to augment our capabilities, we have a program where we pay interns pretty well by intern standards, and we recruit interns to come in and learn by doing. So it is not where it's make copies or get coffee. It is be a colleague, a professional colleague in our organization and get real office experience. And that has worked very well for us. As our reputation for the internship program has grown, we find that most of our interns come with word of mouth recommendations. And in our intern program, we typically have students with a 3.9 or higher grade point, often grad students. And there have been times when we've had 60 applicants for a spot. what we do, part of our intern program that we enjoy is we have the interns do the first level of the hiring process. So they are hiring their replacement, and that gives them experience on the other side of the table and helps them prepare for that first step on their career ladder. And of course, we're very focused on helping them seize appropriate opportunities on that first step of the career ladder.
I have to say, that's the first time I've heard of implementing a hiring by intern portion of the program. And I think it's brilliant. I think there's a lot of young folks starting out their career who don't have the experience of sort of hearing from the other side of the table. So I think that's just ingenious to give them that opportunity and experience. And what I heard is, continue this common theme of high standards, but high opportunity there in that program.
They grade tough,
Yeah.
as you might imagine, and they take it very seriously. And they always say that they learn from it, and their future job applications are going to be approached a little differently, having been on the other side of the table.
It's a great program. I won't apply because I may not get in, but
I'm not sure I would have made it.
Well, hey, John, how about a couple of fun ones? As we sort of wind our time, but what's something come the end of this year that will be one of the first things on your calendar for 2025? Something you're always looking forward to.
I always look forward to the launch of the new year. It's a time to put new energy into the organization, and of course with the new Congress, it's new challenges, new opportunities, and it's an opportunity for us to introduce ourselves to some new people on the policy scene. So lots of opportunities and some challenges to take on. But I'm always excited about that at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, lots of change this year, especially, and it will be an exciting new year of challenges and opportunities, as you said. Well said.
Yes, with the new president, there will be lots happening, and I think part of it too is to recognize as our political policy environment is shifted. It shifts at the federal level, and increasingly there's a change at the state level in response. Mm-hmm. So if one party is in the ascendancy at the federal level, often it creates opportunities for new initiatives by the other party at the level of the state in certain states.
Well, what's something about John that we couldn't find on your resume or online? There's a lot out there these days, but what's something fun fact about John we couldn't find it?
Oh, I blew it. I already told you about suing the governor when I was in college. So I'd say true to my career in food and agriculture, I like to cook, and that's it's a way to bring people together, and I enjoy that. And heaven knows there's always more to learn about the world of food.
Absolutely. If I had more time, I'd do that a little bit more myself. The few moments that I can get into it, I really enjoy. But, life has a lot of facets. So.
Yeah. Well, the best part is it's something you can share with friends. And
well, I have the unfortunate privilege, John, of wrapping us up. But before we go, I would love to hear if there's somebody within your network that you believe our audience would benefit from hearing from.
Oh, gee, I get to work with some great people. The person I would refer you to is Kaylee Buller, who is the new CEO of the National Seed Processors Association. And Kaylee is in her second CEO job of a trade association. She used to work at CRA, and just really excited about the way that she is taking on trade association leadership.
Wonderful. Well, we'll reach out and see if she'll jump on with us. And I appreciate the referral. And John, thank you so much for the time. It was the pleasure was all mine.